Right. Yeah, but it, not just me, but in my books, I put it down very easily so that everybody can check. Have you not, from my books, did it make you see it in a very big way? Like, for example, in Hitler and in other events?
Well, certainly, at least the examples that you gave, which are, of course, it's all historical records, so how to verify anything. But even the recent examples that you gave, for example, I believe with the president's song by Marilyn Monroe or whoever it was, and things getting dated back, or the, I guess, relatable example with the planned rebellion for a certain day, and they made it 2 days earlier, and then they redated it afterwards. And
Oh, in Spain,
right.
yes,
Or with the
General Franco.
wars, when you have 19,000 soldiers going anywhere, of course, it's highly suspicious. And especially in the
Yeah,
current times, we can tell how contrived
when they
media
don't
can
have
be.
20,000, it's
Right.
logical to have 10,000 soldiers,
Yeah.
15 or 20,000, but they're sending in 19,000 soldiers. So now what I'm trying to get at is this. Actually, that it wasn't 19,000 soldiers, but they've reported history as 19,000 soldiers. Like, for example, the Russians have now invaded Ukraine. Yeah, so what they've written it down as 190,000 soldiers were amassed on the borders. The global news media, wherever it was, they all stated a similar thing,
Right.
saying, we've got our representatives on the ground, we've checked it, we've verified it, blah, blah, blah. Satellite images from, many different countries' satellites, Iranian satellites, Korean satellites, Chinese satellites, Indian satellites, Israeli satellites, French satellites, German satellites. They all gave the figure 190,000 soldiers. Do you see now?
Yes. Well,
Yes?
very suspicious. And just to let you know, of course, I'm already recording. I'm quick now. So,
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's great. So now the thing is, I'll explain more about the number 19. Now, when anybody reads Revelation, yeah, in
right.
Revelation, when it mentions 666, it says six three score, practically 600 and 60, and then six. But now what everybody doesn't realize is that everybody seems to, whoever reads the New Testament will imagine, hey, they were backwards, they were monks, blah, blah, blah. They were living in the Middle Ages and they wrote it at that time. But if you turn the world backwards and think, hey, they were advanced at that time, they had science, mathematics, algebra, everything. So if you see it from that point of view, saying like it was in a modern sense, like today, and they wrote it down in a riddle, then if you look at 666, like let's say in a three-dimensional way, because we live in a three-dimensional world, and then it says whoever has wisdom. Now, when you look at the number 19 in my book called The Matrix, I've put it down, the flower of life, yeah, and how it moves up from 1 6 to the second 6 and the third 6. That's why they say the carbon atom is the main atom of
Right.
life, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. Yes, that's not in my books yet. I didn't have time to put it. Yeah, so 6 and 6 equals 18, but you've got to have 19 circles if it's going to be like three-dimensional. Are you beginning to see
Right.
it now?
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Did you get to the part where the flower of life is in the book called The Matrix?
For whatever reason, I'm not remembering that particular part right now, but I'll open it
It,
right
it
up.
was in the end. It was in the end of the book called The Matrix. So now the strange thing is, yeah, it tells you now. The mysterious thing is that whoever wrote down when it says John of the Apocalypse or whoever, that they can't make their mind up who this John is, and they're trying to say John wrote the New Testament. He lived in Ephesus. Now, if you read my book Ancient Greece, it shows that Ephesus didn't exist, and
Right.
they
I actually would
they
like to mention
created.
something about this because I have an individual story I will anonymously relay now, if I
Yeah.
can. I just want to confirm, yes, you put it in on about page 198 in the Matrix. There's a depiction of the circles,
Yes, the
19
flower of life.
circles.
There must be 19 circles.
So I'm putting this as anonymous as I can. Let me just say that I have had heard that there have been individuals involved in, how do you call it, the protection of buildings. There's agencies now in every city, every country that are officially recognized as heritage, protectors, right?
Yeah,
Officially state sanctioned. And I had
yeah,
heard of one particular connection of such institution or individuals also being involved in the Ephesus excavations. And even back then, they had a bit later, after I knew about this, they had big museum exhibitions and show all these things and highly mysterious. And then I just found it quite interesting that individuals associated with heritage protection, maybe associated with Freemasonry, then are also associated with excavation of these sites, which of course in my book then, love to know your take, is highly suspicious, right?
Okay, right. Now the thing is, many people seem to think Freemasonry, things like this, it's amazing, it's advanced, there's something secretive, amazing secretive, and things like that. I'm just going to get to the basics of it. There's many organizations like that worldwide. They've got the Japanese version, they've got the Taiwanese version, the Chinese version, the Cambodian version, the Iraqi version. They've got many secret societies. Now, what they all do, they're all linked together. Now, most people don't realize is that there were empires that we call today the British Empire, the Ottoman Empire, the Russian Empire, the Spanish Empire, the Japanese Empire. These people had empires, but nobody realizes what was going on. For example, there is the British Empire that invaded Beijing in the year 1900. It just so happened to be 1900, the final fall of the final what they call Tartar stronghold. Beijing was called Tartar City.
Right.
Now, the thing is, the British Army went there, and you'd expect it to be British. Yes? But now let's have a look at who the British Army was when they arrived there. They were all Indians. Yes. So this raises the question of what actually was the British Empire. They were Indians. Now, when the French army, came to save France during World War I, they were all Africans. Yes. Just because the French army in France itself was fighting and they were ethnic French, doesn't mean that the French Empire was actually controlled by people from France, or the British Empire was controlled by people from Britain. We're talking about the British army that fought in World War I that came to Europe to fight for Britain was from India. And then we've got this suspicious East India Company. Now, let's get back to Ephesus first, because I was talking about John of the Apocalypse, 666. I'll make it very fast. Now, the strange thing is, before the 18th century, it was common knowledge throughout Europe. There was a guy called John. His name was Prester John or Brother John. Yes, they called it Prester John. It's like if you go as far as Iran or Uzbekistan, they'll say brata, like brother in English. Yeah, and so the thing is, his name was John, and that's why mysteriously in Central Asia and even as coming as far west as Turkey, there's the name John. In Turkey, they will say Mehmet John, or when they changed the alphabet, now it's Mehmet Can instead of Mehmet John. Mehmet is their accent for Muhammad. Yeah, so there was this character called John that they say the mysterious Marco Polo wrote down in his books, that they were all looking for him, but he lived in Asia. Yeah, so that's why they say they found Ephesus in Asia Minor. So the thing is, that was a scam. Yeah, that was a scam, but because this John of the Apocalypse sounds similar to Prester John, or sounds similar to the John the Baptist, whoever that really was. They're trying to put John the Baptist many centuries back, and they're trying to say that he lived in the Middle East, and then they chopped his head off, and his head ended in Egypt, and his body was in the other side of the Middle East, which sounds similar to the story of Ali John or Ali Jan in Iranian, and they call him Imam Ali, and they say his head and his body was separated, and that's what separated the Muslims into Sunnis and Shiites. Well, anyway, the thing is, the 666, if it comes to three dimensionals, it comes to 19. And that's where we get, when you graduate, you wear a cube on your head. But all these things people are going to find online. But what most people don't realize is when you go through a cube, yeah, when you mix it with the flower of life, it's like a Rubik's Cube, three-dimensional, and there's nine, it goes from 1 to 9, and it's three-dimensional. And now the thing is, the funniest thing is what most people don't know is that the Quran was written in this cubic language. They pronounce it Kufic in the Middle East, And then they'll give you some strange history saying it came from a city called Kufa in Iraq. But anybody who looks at a photograph of Kufa or many photographs of that place from the year 1900, there's nothing there. It's an empty field. It's a desert, and there's some strange building there. There's just one building in the whole entire area. It's almost like the place didn't exist.
Yeah, just like you show the images in your books of Ephesus, right?
Yeah, Ephesus, but I'm trying to explain more about the 19.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, because the 19 thing is so important. You'll find it in the Lockerbie disaster. You can find it in anything, in all these setups that they've done, or what people say is fraudulent history. So the thing is, it's not that there was not an invasion by Russia into Ukraine. The question is, why did they say 190,000 troops? And they said it the day before the invasion. So it's almost like, one, they knew it was going to happen, and two, they had to use that number. And this is what's going to be recorded in history. So that's the thing. It's like they're making it happen, and then they're using these numbers on purpose. And these numbers have a meaning. And once people understand three-dimensional language, now when you look at a QR code, the word QR, they're going to say, give it some pathetic meaning, but the word QR basically means you read, QR. And the word Quran is plural, but when you take away the plural, the word Qura, that's short for the word Quran, QR. It means to read. And that's the same in Arabic or in Hebrew. Yeah. And it's a cubic language, and it goes from 1 to 9 or 19, and it's three-dimensional. And that's how the Quran was written. That many of the manuscripts, they got rid of them during the Middle Ages and after the Renaissance, and all the books in Europe were in Arabic. So it's very suspicious what is going on. What is going on? Did you go through the Hitler book?
Yes, I did.
Did you notice that in all the major events, they've recorded it as a 19, whether it's true or not?
Yes,
you noticed?
I have read through the reports and I saw it, yes. So through the, let's say, news reports that you could find of the historical journals, let's say.
Yeah, I've put references to all the big museums, like the Holocaust Museum, World War II museums, everywhere, that wherever you're going to go, they're going to show you this data. Yeah. And the thing is, the data is suspicious. It doesn't mean that such events didn't happen, but it brings forward the question of how much history have they modified? If they could lie about just even data, we don't know how much more they've lied. And another strange thing is, if you do a search through Napoleon Bonaparte's history and how he invades Russia, same like Hitler did, it's the same thing. 19,000 this, that, 19 this, right. 19 that. Hitler came to power on the 19th. He became the Führer. Napoleon Bonaparte, they call it the 18th of Brumaire. He had his coup d'etat at night. And then on the 19th, he took power and he made his proclamation, 19th of Brumaire. That's the French month name. Yeah, so it's the same suspicious history. It's almost like a similar identical history. Like, for example, some people pointed out when Napoleon left France to go to Egypt, on his mission there, he left on the 19th. And when he left, the ships should have taken maximum 2 or 3 or 4 days. It took him 6 weeks to go from France to Egypt. Very suspicious. And then when they arrived, they found the Rosetta Stone on the 19th.
Of course.
Things like that. Yeah.
And even here, with current reference, you say that here, for example, in the book 16, it says, historians have said that the Red Army captured Crimea in May 1944, and Stalin deported around 190,000 Crimean Tartars. So
yeah, the Crimean Tartars have been on the news even these days in the last 10 years when Russia entered Crimea. Some people will call it an invasion. The Russians will say, no, it's not an invasion. But when they entered, they were broadcasting it again and again, saying 190,000 Crimean Tartars got deported. Now, we do know that these Tartars did get deported. I've actually met some of them when I went to Central Russia. in Novosibirsk. I've been to these places. I've been to Almaty in Kazakhstan when Central Russia and Central Asia, Stalin deported these people. Yeah, I've actually met some of them over there, and they can remember when their grandparents or great-grandparents ended up in that region. So, some of these Crimean Tartars were not even Tartars, or you can't even tell the difference. It's like I've seen some of them. They look German to me. They look Polish. They just look like ordinary Europeans. Like I've met some of them, and they look different because in Central Asia, the people are halfway between European and halfway between Asiatic features when you look at them. So you will notice that they stand out. And Stalin deported them. But the thing is, we don't know how many there was. They say 190,000, but the thing is, the data is suspicious. So the event did happen, but it's the data. Yes. And so if they could fabricate the data, they've obviously fabricated a lot of other information. Yeah, a lot of it. You know, it's even like if you read through the pyramids, they say, hey, the entrance was on the 19th layer of masonry, or the ancient Egyptians left a message to the whole world in the middle of the pyramids complex, right between the paws of the Sphinx. And that was written on the 19th day. It just gets ridiculous.
Yeah, and even I think the scholars supposedly that are somewhat like a common German name, Burkhardt, I think I also read this in your book, and then suddenly I have all these hadiths coming up with someone called like Al-Burkarab or something, which just seems like
the same name,
bastardized version of this German scholar, and and you give them a new religion.
And somebody will, it's hard to believe, to think that, hey, in Europe, they could have written Arabic in the 17th or 18th century. But what people don't realize is that Arabic was the global language. Yeah. That is another difficult thing to show people, and people don't realize it. But anyway, once you go through the 19s, you'll find a similar thing. Frederick Barbarossa had the biggest crusades, and he marched through Belgrade from Germany with 190,000 crusaders. Yeah, when they found the cross of the Sepulchre, I'm not sure if it was that or some other incident. There was 19,000 soldiers parading with it. It's just ridiculous that when you go through history, it's actually laughable. Even I didn't send you the book about ancient Greece. I thought I'd sent it. Yeah, I've just checked. In our conversation history, I didn't send you about ancient Greece.
I've seen the one about ancient Egypt and the pyramids, which of course is highly interesting.
Yeah. I've got a similar book about ancient Greece, and it goes through the same thing. I forgot to send it you. I actually thought I sent it you. Now, in fact, I'm just going to open it up. When you see this, it's just laughable. The history it's like the moment you start laughing, but then you get worried, and it's like people can end up being confused, thinking, hey, we've got no history.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the ancient Greeks, they said that the world was round. But I'm just opening this up. When you hear the 19s in this ancient Greece thing, you'll just think, oh my God, it sounds like a joke. Yeah. In the ancient Egyptian thing, there's a lot more. I only put a few down just to show the basic things. The ancient Israelites, they left the Middle East. They went to ancient Egypt in the 19th century BC. Oh, it just goes on, and then you can check the history when they returned to the Middle East and they built the walls of Temple Mount, 19 meters or 19 feet high. It just goes on and on that you'll think it's just ridiculous.
And I'm not sure if you had brought this up, but one of my favorite examples is by this one scholar who supposedly made great contributions to research of antiquity and tying together all kinds of different mythologies from Asia and Europe. And his name was Joseph Justus Scaliger, who of course is important for the timeline. And then I said, I made a joke, and I know him. Of course,
his father's called Julius Caesar.
Exactly.
How can you not forget?
And I made a post about this online, and someone was like, something about history, and someone was like, oh, are you serious? And then I just replied to them, well, look up this guy, look up his father's name, and tell me if you are being serious, because here I'm like, this is what of a big joke, and it's almost like, how do you call it? To offend the sheep or something like this, or to this is the way it seems to me, because in school nobody told me about this, and then I would have thought if it would have been his child,
it's just a laughable history.
if it was his child, I could say, okay, he discovered all of this and then he names his child after this great guy he found in history. But that his father has this name, I mean, what is this? This is like really like an affront to intelligence. You know what I mean? When you see this, I'm like, wow.
Yeah, the history is funny. Once you know that it's a lie, it's just something to laugh at. There is nothing else. Anyway, I'm just going to go through a brief example of ancient Greece. The Tartars say that Plato told the world that Socrates met the great. Historians say that a man named Plato in ancient Greece was the student of a man called Socrates. Historians say that Plato told the world that Socrates met great philosophers at the age of 19. Then historians say that a man called Aristotle was the student of Plato for a total of 19 years. Then they say that Aristarchus of Samos, calculated that the sun was 19 times further away than the earth compared to the moon. Then Aristarchus calculated that the sun was 19 times wider than the moon. Then these historians say that Eratosthenes made an estimate for the circumference of the earth in ancient Egypt. This happened on the 19th of June, 240 BC. How can they even know what day it was? 19 this, 19 right. That. If you go through ancient Greece, it's just ridiculous. Anyway, I'll send you that file on ancient Greece. It's similar. When you read it, you'll think they use the same methodology to create this ancient Greek history, and same like ancient Egypt. Now, I already sent you ancient Greece before. Now, the thing is, this is ancient Greece, the same book, but I've rewritten it, added the number 19 to it, because when I originally wrote this book, I wrote it without the number 19. I thought it would be enough. I thought it would be enough for everybody to see photographs, and I thought half the world would use their brain and think, hey, these temples aren't here. There's nothing there, and they've mysteriously been built. It was clear. But now I added on to show the actual Greek history. I added it on so that then people will see, hey, not only did they build these places, but they mathematically calculated how many years and everything, so that then history doesn't get confused. Then it will balance. They've used a certain mathematics. Yeah.
So I'm their construction, you mean? A mathematics.
Excuse me?
They use
Anatoly Fomenko mentions that.
Right, you mean a patterning, right? I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, Anatoly Fomenko, showed a lot to do with the number 33 and 330. But half the world knew about the number 33. Yes. But what he did, he went deeper into it. Yeah. And the thing is, what I've done is I've gone deeper into the number 19, which nobody else has actually written about, apart from maybe a few people, but not regarding world history. Yeah. So the thing is, it's because the sun and the moon and the earth, they align every 19 years and every 33 years. That's why there's the number 19 and then there's the number 33.
Yes.
Yeah. That's why they say Hitler became chancellor on 1933. Yeah. So there's these numbers. They are using many numbers, but the thing is, on a lot of the data, the falsified, it's very clear to see it. A lot of the data is actually true, that they may not have changed because they probably didn't bother. Now, now the next thing is, I didn't want to jump onto the next subject. Organizations like that people mention saying there's masonry, there's this, there's that. Now, they say that there's several levels of masonry. All these organizations do, their job is to make sure that the people in power who've created the New World System stay in power. And all these, and that's their secret. And they've got some privileges with the legal systems and many other things. It's highly documented that they're in the many nations police forces. That's why every country has its own secret societies. What they do is many people say that these organizations, they organize fake events, fake this, fake that, to do with political agendas. Now, some people will say, hey, that's wrong. These are false flags. They're doing this, that, for gun control in the United States, for this, that, many reasons. Now, some of the reasons, if you are somebody who's in power, yes, you will see the world in a different way. Now, I don't want to boast, but I actually give out charity on a monthly basis, like food money, to people in very poor nations. Same like they've got the benefit system in England, France, and Germany. Yeah, and what they do is they check your income, they check how many people live in the house, how many people to feed. Now, I personally do that with the people that I support every month, and it's a very difficult job. It is a difficult job, and it's difficult because I've always got to earn the money to actually give it them and things like that, and I've got to balance things in my own life. So the people who are running the New World Order or the new global system, they've got to make sure that supply and demand, and then there's greed to keep everything in balance. And then, yes, they have lied about history. Yeah, and they've got their own reasons. Now, some of the things that politicians do, like when you say there's a politician and say, hey, we realize that this one's the same politician, or they recorded that video on a different day. Yeah, they are doing things like that. Nothing sinister. Yeah, it's because it's a very difficult job to rule a country, to rule the people, because not many people are educated enough to actually care, and many people don't care. But it's a very difficult job. Now, many people will say they want to control people further, put people under control. Well, if you are in power, then you will turn around and think, hey, for example, when I give charity, yeah, many people say, hey, you're lucky, you're powerful, you've got more money. So I know somebody who's deaf, yeah, and they are deaf, and they would like to have this ear operation and have this kind of gadget put inside, then they will able to hear a bit more. Now, the thing is, I didn't know how to reply to that person. They said, you don't know how it feels. The feeling. But the thing is, I turned around and thought, hey, one, I've got to get the money, the resources. If I pay for this person's operation, I will not be able to give food money to many other people.
Right.
So I had to balance things like this. And then I had to lie to that person, not because I wanted to, but I had to. But I did care. So now the thing is, the people in power, yeah, they see the world in a different way. So they have lied about history. Yes, whatever their reasons are, there could be two. Now, the old world order, the more you look at it, you will realize it was a world order based on three people: Moses, Jesus Christ, and Muhammad. Now, this is globally. Now, maybe somebody in the United States will say, hey, Muhammad isn't relevant to me. But, we have to remember that a country called, let's say, Kazakhstan exists. Right. There's humanity living over there. And then somebody else will say, hey, I live in Ethiopia, and Muhammad doesn't matter to me, but Moses does. And then you can go to France and they'll say, Jesus Christ matters to me and Moses doesn't matter to me. So wherever you go, the old world order had these three people, and then there are other so-called prophets, but they were the major characters. And the thing is, they had a system, and they claimed that they had access to God. And they got information from God on how to rule the masses, and they got technology from God. This is what they basically say. Now, the thing is, the people who've got the New World Order, or who want to set it up, and they've not actually set it up yet, there's a long way to go. They are saying, hey, we don't believe them. And that's why they started the lies. That's why they started the lies. There was a guy called Jesus Christ, and they claimed that we killed him. But now in the other side of the world, the people, let's say, for example, the Muslims or the Jews, they're turning around and saying, no, there's no such thing as somebody got crucified and then came back out of his grave. So they're saying, no, they didn't kill him. So the Muslims are saying, no, God loved him, God saved him, he was alive. But on the other side, you've got the Catholic Church, and the people who set it up. Some of their original documents seem to say, hey, we killed him, God couldn't save him, God's got no power. Therefore, the old laws from the system of Moses are no longer needed. We will make our own law. So the thing is, both sides, we won't know which way to go. Now, the people who are running the new world system or who want to bring it about will say, hey, if we don't lie to people, people are so ignorant, they're not going to check anything anyway. They check a little bit and then they make their minds up. It's like, for me, I've realized I cannot make my mind up about anything because there's so much still we've got to
Yes,
learn.
indeed.
But the average person, they see a few pictures, a few stories, and they seem to have made their mind up saying, this is the truth, I know it all. So the thing is, it's a difficult situation. So when it comes down to God, yeah, it's a matter of belief. It's really a matter of belief that you can believe. That's why, you know, in the core message in Christianity and the core message in Islam and in Judaism is, do you believe in God? Because you can't say, I know God, I saw him.
Right.
You know, so the thing is, it's about belief. It's about belief. And so these two sides, they've been fighting for centuries. They've been fighting for centuries. Now, the thing is, maybe the new global system is telling lies. Well, what can we do? What can we do? What can we say? Now, for me in England, I can turn around and say the new global system has been very good to me. It's worked for me, my friends, my family. We're living better standards compared to the other half of the world who can't even feed themselves. Now, the other side of the world, the other half are going to turn around and say, we don't like this new global system. We can barely feed ourselves. We're living in ridiculous conditions. We don't have proper electricity, nothing. Nothing. So, you know, not even proper water. Half of them don't even have meat half the time to eat. So on the other side, they're going to say, no, the old world system was better. So the thing is, you know, we've got problems, and whoever's in power, I don't know what their solution is. Some people say their solution could be depopulation, because what else are they going to do?
Yeah, but isn't this in a way incredibly ignorant? Because if we were only to use a fraction of the technology or wealth that is available, and I'm not even talking about anything secret, it wouldn't be necessary at all. It seems that all the misery is only kept there that the control can be perpetuated, no? They don't really seem to be wanting to be good administrators.
Yes, I agree with you. So that means you and me, we believe in the old world system.
Yeah, well, in a sense, yeah.
I agree with you. But I'm saying from the point of view from the people in power.
Of course,
because they are in power and their friends are in power.
And especially if their power is built on a lie, then they have to be especially scared, you know? Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, I'm saying from their point of view on how to manage things, because I've managed things, but from my wealth, I shared it out. But from their wealth,
right,
and how they've put the wealth in certain countries and they've created these borders, they don't want to share it out. That's why they've created borders and they've created restrictions. Yeah, so the difference is, yes, I agree with you. But I'm saying that if you actually put yourself in their shoes and thought like them, then you will understand it. I'm not saying I think like them. I said,
of course. No, it's very important to be empathetic.
I don't want you to think I've got plans like the new global order. Let them starve. I want lots of wealth. I want to be in control. I want to be in power. No, I don't have anything like that.
I'm not worried about that, but it's just incredibly important to understand the other point of view, because only then could we even offer them potentially a way out or even think about a different scenario. We have to understand this psychology. So thank you for mentioning it. I think it's very important.
Actually, it's not very expensive to help people in the other side. You know, it's like you can just go to Romania and you can see that a family of 4 people, if you give them something like, 20 or 30 euros, yeah, they will, of course, help themselves and they'll work a little, but that will be enough to get through for a family of 4, that they'll have the minimum basic to actually buy bread and eggs and a few other things for the whole family to survive. That's how I calculate when I actually give money to very poor people that I met around the world. And I regularly check every year that they've got to send me videos, not do webcam. They've got to actually send me full videos of their living conditions, every corner room in their house. I check their clothes. I try and see if their condition standards have improved. I actually check these things. It's actually a difficult job.
Yes,
so the new global system has done. Yeah, the new global system has done good things. Let's say if you're inside England or if you're inside France, but for the other side of the world, they haven't, and they've lied about history. They've got their own reasons. Now, when it comes down to the God thing, yes, it doesn't matter whether you support them or not. Many people have got their own opinions about God. So the thing is, people are asking for proof, but because we don't have the direct proof that we've met God or we've spoken to God, we don't have that. What we've got is science, and we've got to see it with our own eyes. And it's a belief that I can turn around and say that me personally, I can say the sun is moving, the moon is moving. Yeah, whether I'm not talking about flat or round Earth. We can see there is movement. Yeah, that I can see these things exist. So that it's like if somebody says that car has moved and nobody moved that car, then it doesn't sound correct.
Right.
We know that somebody moved the car if the car has moved positions. So when I wake up every day, I notice the sun is changing position, so is the moon. Somebody set that movement in process. And that person who created that process and set it in process is God. That is the God to me. That's me personally. It doesn't mean you have to agree. You could you could turn around and say that rabbit over there or that cat, they created the sun and the moon. I don't want to argue, but I'm just saying that's my personal belief, and that's me personally. And the rest, I'm trying to figure out. And I found, history is a lie, and we've got a serious problem with history. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you very much.
Any questions, Raphael?
Oh, well, if I only, my issue being that I'm looking through all of this information, and especially the certain angles that you provide that I maybe hadn't heard yet. I've been trying to research a bit more, of course, but still, even for me, and I spent many hours, it's so much. And there's so many, many different levels that I'd love to, be able to be very concentrated. And sometimes some specific questions come up. A few things I was able to ask you on previous shows. Let me just then ask first you, and then I'll see if I come back with anything else. Is there anything maybe that you recently discovered, or anything that's particularly interesting to you right now? One idea that came up for me with the pyramids, for example, was that I would now assume, because I'm not sure how much you know about the pyramids in Bosnia, for example, but the Giza pyramid is one that's made to be very famous and popular. If I say pyramid, everyone thinks about Giza. It may be fake, but then we have pyramids like in Bosnia, and we have all kinds of underground things. And it seems almost like certain pyramids they want to show you as a deception or diversion from maybe the real stuff. Maybe that's something to talk about.
Okay, now the thing is, I've written a book called Lemuria. Yeah. Now the thing is, if anybody looks at mining, if anybody looks at mining that we're doing today, and what we even did 100 years ago, you'll notice that not far from Paris in the north of France, there's these two mountains that look like pyramids. I've forgotten their names. And the thing is, they clearly look like pyramids, and you could redesign them any minute and turn them into pyramids. Now, when you do mining, and you're removing land and you're piling things up, you can actually, many of the times, depending on the materials, if it's heavy or not, they set the foundation. Before they actually put the mining pile, and these piles are very big, like mountains. Have you ever seen any of them, or you haven't seen them?
I don't think I've seen that myself. I mean, I've seen some of these like pictures where it very much looks like ancient mining sites, but I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Have you not read my book Lemuria? I sent that to you before.
Yes, I have. Yeah, it doesn't mean I remember every single picture, but yes, no, I have, and I've seen these like ancient mining site looking places, let's say.
But did you notice that they're building like, for example, let me send you a picture of France. Yes, it's called Nord-Pas-de-Calais mining base. Now, they did mining there in the 18th century, 19th century, etc., and later. And what they did was, here, have a look. Yeah, what they did was they put some piles. The photo's transferring.
Right.
It's going to go through. It's going to go through to your messages, right? And then just look at it. And then if you look at that from the air, it looks. You can convert them into pyramids in. It won't take you very long. Same like the Mexican pyramids that they've made. The picture is.
Yes.
You should have it right now.
Those I had seen,
Have
the
a look at
Mexican
that.
ones, yes. Yeah, well, totally
Yeah.
looks like pyramids. Yeah.
Yes. So this is just mining waste. This is not far from Paris. I forgot how far it is, but the thing is, they call them slag heaps in English. But the thing is, that let me send you a better picture, and then you will turn on and think, damn, they look exactly same like the pyramids in Bosnia. I sent you a
Right.
faraway view. Now I'm going to send you a close view. When you see, there's another picture uploading. When you see this picture, you'll say, damn, it looks like the pyramids in Bosnia. Now, the thing is, when you're doing the mining piles, yes, and you're the mining and you pile things up like that, yeah, it's very easy to actually put rooms underground or things inside that place, and then actually just put bricks on the outside, and then you've got some advanced pyramid. It's very easy. Have a look at the new picture, and then you'll think, damn, this actually looks like the pyramids in Bosnia. Yeah.
Yes.
And you can actually make it. You can actually make it to be, the sides, the angles, the elevation.
It's clearly visible.
I've sent you a new picture. Have you received the new one?
Yes. I'm looking at it now. Yes, it's clearly visible. Yeah, looks like pyramids, obviously. Yeah.
The second picture. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's what's going on, and the thing is that there's many of these mountains from the 19th century. We're talking about from the 1890s, 1900s.
Right. Yeah.
So we don't know what's been going on in the Balkans or anywhere else. There's that many of these hills all over the world now, thousands of them. We don't even know how many. That we've done so much mining that what they've got in Bosnia could be anything. Yeah. If it's natural, so be it. If it's not natural, yeah, and man made it, yeah. The people who made it, because the people who made it, they probably made it so that one day they wanted it to be a pyramid. Like, for example, the world order. This is why the Quran, I said before, is very important. Now, many people have said in the book of Enoch, it said there were giants that lived longer.
Yes.
Now, the book of Enoch is suspicious. Yeah. We can't find an original copy. It mysteriously came from Ethiopia. But then when you have a look at pictures of Addis Ababa in the year 1900, Addis Ababa didn't exist. There was no such city there. And the people, they crowded around because the colonialists brought them. And then they're all wearing clothes made in machines in factories, from colonial factories with white shirt-like clothes in Ethiopia. And they're claiming that they found the Book of Enoch there that talks about giants and other things, or to claim that people lived for centuries. But there is a strange thing. Now, Anatoly Fomenko, Professor Anatoly Fomenko says Moses lived around 1,000 years ago, maybe maximum 1,400 years ago or 1,200 years ago, something like this. And then he shows that the timeline in the Quran shows that Jesus Christ was the nephew of Moses. That's what he shows. Yeah. And then the Quran says something else. It says that when Moses left the land of Egypt, there was a group of the children of Israel who rebelled. Yes. And they brought Egyptian customs with them. And they worshipped the calf. Yeah. They worshipped the calf. But what was I going to say about these people? Oh, yeah. So what happened is that these people, the Quran mysteriously says that God extended their lifespan the number of years. Yes. And so the thing is, when we look at the way the new global system is planned, many people who've had a look at it have said, hey, these people must live for a very long time. Yes. If they can plan like this ahead.
Right.
Yes. So the thing is, the Quran actually says that. So the Quran is actually a totally different book that it's like I don't know what to say. It's totally different. And if you look at it in cubic form, yeah, in cubic form, the book has some strange mathematical pattern, like in a three-dimensional QR code. Imagine a QR code that's three-dimensional. That's how the Quran is written. And that's why it's got advanced gematria, and it's three-dimensional cubic, what they call Kufic. So that I'm going to write about is too deep. Yeah, too advanced. Many people have noticed this mathematical code, and some people have tried to rearrange that code according to them. There's websites on this. Not many people in Europe or America know about this code. No similar code has been found in any other book in the world. But that book, it mentions a totally different timeline, which seems to agree with what people like Professor Anatoly Fomenko and Velikovsky, a Jewish, I'm not sure if he was Jewish, but I think he was Jewish, a Jewish professor, and what many other people have said. So the thing is, it's a book that people have to look at in a different way. I don't know why many people are against it in Europe and America, because it's a simple book that says, hey, there's one God, everybody else is human, simple as. There is no, Christianity, it turns out and says the Son of God, this, that, it just goes on and on. It becomes a debate, it becomes argumentative. Now, in Islam, it's just as simple. God created you, God created everything. Be good, or else you're going to pay with justice after you die. Simple as. That's what it says. Yeah, and the thing is, the history that's written in that book is totally opposite the history that's in the West. So it's something that people need to look at.
Yes, yeah. I can just say it's obvious that people in Europe, even though there's technically many Muslims living here, but I think many don't really have a relationship or understanding. And that, of course, is kept this way. And then some low-key anti-Islamism, because, we deliberately, I guess, the West deliberately propped up the Saudis and so on to make it look very dangerous and very scary. And, suicides, bombs and whatever, so that no one would even consider, looking in that book for something like that, So
yeah, I know. Another thing is, most of the Muslims, they read that book and they know it says a different history. They believe it, but they don't. And then they study Western history when they come to Europe, and then they don't say it to most European people's face, but inside they say, yeah, we studied Western history at school. But inside they believe the history that's in the Quran. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, most of the Muslims have never sat down to say, hey, let's compare it and investigate it in comparison with European history. Now, that is something what people like Anatoly Fomenko did. Yes, people like him and Velikovsky, they had a look. They found world history had problems. Then they compared it, and then they pointed these things out. And then they said, "Hey, this looks realistic. This is a lie." And these things. And if Anatoly Fomenko didn't become famous, this Tartaria subject would have never gone out everywhere. But after him, this subject went global, and now it's got the title of Tartaria. And the thing is, he made the big breakthroughs. And now the rest is up to us. It's up to us to investigate it further and have a look. But it's a serious point when anybody who's investigated the history of the world that we've been given in institutions, whether Western or Eastern, these institutions that the colonial empire set up, all these universities, whether they be in China, Brazil, India, South Africa, Europe or America, these institutions are teaching the same history. And that history, has got a serious problem. It's basically a lie. It's nothing but a lie. Yeah, Anatoly Fomenko has wrote politely in his book. He's saying Scaliger made errors. It's not an error. They lied. They invented this history. It's just simple. I like the way he's written his books. This is an error. This is, a duplicity. If you read his books, the words sound difficult. It's not duplicity. It's just copying, cheating, lying. They did it on purpose. But if they lied about history and they want to hide the old world order, it means they've got something to fear about the world order that was created by Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad. Anatoly Fomenko showed a totally different Muhammad compared to the one that they've got in history. Now, the Muslims themselves, they focus on a Muhammad, a person who prayed. So anybody who's going to ask the average Muslim is just going to find somebody who prayed. Yeah. But if we're going to talk about history and politics, then the Muhammad that Anatoly Fomenko showed was a totally different one. And the Jesus Christ and Moses that he showed is totally different. And the one that I'm showing is that these three people were actually people who turned up at times when the global ruling order became oppressive and the people in power took advantage, and then these people stood up as resistance. They were like the resistance. Moses, what was he? He was the resistance. There was this is what you'll find strange. It turns around and says that the children of Israel, they were constructing buildings. Yes. And then they left the land. They did the Exodus. Yeah. They were being abused. Now, the Quran gives a more detailed story. It shows that Pharaoh had technology. And with his technology, what they could do is do things like create virtual reality and other things. And Moses, that's why when Moses threw his stick, it became a snake. We're talking about visual reality, that they changed what things did. Now, Moses had control over the weather, or God controlled the weather, and then Moses, they say that Moses did the miracles. So it means, in a religious sense of view, I don't want to be argumentative. Yeah, so I'd rather say it was God who did it through Moses. Now, the thing is, control of the weather. We're getting to this stage today. So the people in the global world order will say, hey, we're learning how to control the weather. This does not make Moses amazing. What if Moses had that technology? But from the sense of religion, yeah, people say, no, Moses did it, with technology and with power he received from God. So it is debatable. But the Quran says something else. It says that when it does not say that Egypt is the land where Moses went to. This is what the New World History is saying, that the current land of Egypt is that place.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Now, the Quran doesn't say that, but the Quran says something else that's totally different. It says that these people, the children of Israel, they left the land. And it's well known in history that the children of Israel were doing construction. Yes, they were doing construction, whoever they were. Now, the Quran says Pharaoh sent his army to pursue Moses. I think his army had 100,000 men or 1 million men. So that means that the number of the children of Israel, whoever they were, there must have been so many of them when they left. Now, when they left, it turns around and says in the Quran, there was a flood. That's why we've got many buildings that are buried. And then we've got all these ghost cities that people are saying 200 years ago that mysteriously they went to go back into, ghost cities. It might have something to do with, the Exodus, the people left, then they went to another place, then they came back. So these things, people have to look at it more deeper. Then the Quran also says that there was Solomon and Sheba, and the land of Sheba, wherever it was, that place also had a flood. God sent a flood. And then there was Noah's flood. So the Quran actually mentions 3 specific floods, maybe more, I'm not sure. So the thing is, when people talk about mud flood, they'll have to look at it a bit further. But also, yes, a lot of the things that are buried has got nothing to do with mud or a flood. Many things. I've not put this in my books yet, but I found myself that many places have been buried within the last 50 years or 100 years due to mining and to land shifts.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it might not have been a global mud flood or anything, but things have happened and they have changed history. Yeah, it's clear that they've changed history. There's just too much evidence for the repeats. My book, History is a Lie, shows perfect examples of them copying everything, just duplicating things in the 19th century. So the thing is, it's baffling. It's just baffling, What else can I say? It's like, for example, let's say if you're in India. Today, you said, is there anything new that I was looking at?
Yes.
This wasn't new. It wasn't new, but the thing is, I'll just send it, and then you'll think, what the hell? I've sent you a picture of the Taj Mahal, and they're going to turn around and say that there's a scaffolding on top of the dome. And they're saying that scaffolding was put there in the 1930s and 40s, just in case Hitler went all the way to India to bomb it. Yes.
What?
Now, another thing is we're told that this is just a monument. Yeah, just an average monument. And the thing is, if you can see the minarets, yeah, they look like minarets. But there's many similar buildings, maybe 100 similar buildings in India, like the Taj Mahal. Here is another one. And historians say they were built by the same people in the same civilization. Now, this building is called Badshahi Mosque today. This is just across the border of India and Pakistan. Same like there's Gothic churches in Germany and in France or in England across the border or in Spain or Italy. Now, if you look at that Badshahi Mosque 100 years ago, have a look at it 100 years ago. And have a look at the minarets. Pay attention to the minarets. Have you seen the minarets?
Oh, is there something missing?
They don't have the domes on top of the minarets. The sticks, you know, the minarets.
Yes, yes, the ones that are farther out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that are surrounding us. So now,
Yes.
not just further out, even, but now let's have a look at similar things in industrial mills in Europe 100 years ago. What do you see? They're identical. Can you see it?
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And officially they
So,
would be factories, because now it just looks like a chimney, to me at least.
yeah, factories or anything industrial. A factory has, you know, they have machinery inside and something. So the thing is,
Right.
you know, that mosque there, it had something to do with energy, industry, whatever. So the thing is, the world is not what we think it is. Yeah. So the Taj Mahal, yeah, they're trying to say is just a place. Somebody built some huge building, an amazing building, and they built it just to bury one dead woman there. Or the story of the Taj Mahal is same thing, 19 this, 19 that. If you heard it, you'll turn and think, what the hell is this? Let me just find the Taj Mahal. Then you know the same people wrote that history too. Let's see if I've still got it. Let's see. Shah Jahan, he was with that woman. Shah Jahan built the Taj Mahal. He was with that woman for 19 years or something. I've not.
I mean, it's always the same story, the churches and so on only being built for the glory of God, right? And then you always have these scaffoldings. And I just saw a very recent presentation in German. I'm very happy that now more German people are looking into this as well, and just show the photographs, and you could clearly see it's kind of like cut off. So it's just made to look as if someone is constructing it on top, but really it's just a very basic image manipulation to make it look like a construction site, when in truth some buildings were built new
so many
and some were there for a long time.
Yeah, they've modified so many pictures, so we don't know what's going on. But even with the modifications, and whatever they did, they left their mistakes. Like, for example, I sent you that picture of that Badshahi Mosque in Lahore City. Now the thing is, the sky looks like it's been modified. Now the minarets, they forgot to modify them. Yes, they forgot to modify them, and there's many similar minarets like that, similar to industrial buildings in other parts of the world. So it gives the game away. It just gives the game away that the world did have industry, 300-400 years ago. Yes.
Right.
At the time of the Renaissance, industrial buildings that had engineering equipment for some types of, God knows what type of industry. But the thing is, it just shows that from the east to the west, there's something wrong. And that, like, for example, when people think of Gothic churches or these Gothic arches, things like that, everyone seems to imagine Europe. What people don't know is that there's many similar buildings in India, in China. So we've got some problem. Because when you go into these groups, Tartarian groups, they're going to put pictures of it in Europe, this, that, some of them from America. But these groups, not many people are showing buildings from other side of the world. And when they do put something from the other side of the world, nobody checks the history. They just say, hey, look at this. This is amazing, blah, blah, blah. Some of the buildings have been modified so much that it's just easy to check the photographs from, let's say, 60 years ago, 80 years ago. And many people who are posting these things without even bothering to check or even bothering to look, which is a shame. Yeah. So, some of these people are probably deliberate agents of, secret societies or government agencies there to mislead people. So the thing is, everybody has to be careful. They have to be careful. They have to do their own research. That's why when I wrote my books, as you've noticed, every single sentence I say or paragraph, when I get to the next paragraph, I will leave something, a reference that people can check.
Yes.
That I've done. I've put the reference there instead of at the end of the book, is because many people are reading books that people have to go through references, and the references from another book, which goes through another reference, and it goes around in circles.
Yeah.
That in the end you can't find anything. So in my books, I wrote them in such a way so that people can just check it simply, because I don't know everything, and I'm hoping that people themselves will find things, and then they will write about it or they'll post it online, that I'll come across it one day and say, hey, at last I've got the final answer.
Yes.
Yes. So that's another reason why I'm a pass on the knowledge to anybody free, whoever, whenever and wherever I can. Obviously I don't know everything, Anyway, if you've got any questions, ask me. Have you got any questions?
Let me see if there's something on the top of my head. Right, there is one other thing I'd like to bring up, which I also recently heard of, for example, in the city of Kazan, which apparently is in Russia. That this is one
I've been there. I know it.
Would be one of the places where you actually have, at least in the current version, a mosque, a synagogue, and a seemingly Christian church right next to each other. What in your mind, we talked about this a little bit before, but what in your mind would be the difference? Is this just like different branding of one common civilization, just different, branches in a way, but not competing, just like flavors or different uses for the buildings, maybe slightly different alignment or purpose for the buildings?
Right. That is more political. They've put these synagogues, churches, mosques there recently, especially in Kazan. That mosque, it was built in the last 30, 40 years or 50 years. It's called Kul Sharif. I went there. It looks amazing. There's a similar building that looks a little similar, which is a church in Ukraine, in Kiev. Yeah, to that Kazan Cathedral Mosque. And the thing is, there's a synagogue there, but there's not many Jewish people there. There's churches there, in the Kazan Kremlin, But the thing is, after the so-called Romanovs took over, everybody says that Kremlin never had any churches there anyway. It's because the entire area was Muslim, who were original Muslim, not in the modern sense, until they were forced to become, until there was forced Russification.
Right.
Same like in people turn around and say when the wars in the Balkans happened, they say that when the Albanians stole children from nearby areas, the children became Albanian. When the Greeks mysteriously found lots of children, which the Greeks will say we didn't steal them, but they were exporting children to the United States and other places around the world. The Turks will say they were Turkish children. The Turks had extra, they found lots of children. The Armenians will say they belong to us. So the thing is, what happened is in every country, these modern nation states, they had Russification. They had Greekification. Hungary had Hungarianification.
Yes.
Where they passed on these languages, passed on for the new state to happen. But we can't actually find a history of Christianity in Kazan. So the thing is, if you go back 300 years, we can't find any, Christian history. And even the coins, even in Moscow and Northern Europe, all of them were in Arabic writing, which is, another thing that nobody mentions, but Anatoly Fomenko has mentioned. And we're in Ukraine right now. There's a war going on there. The majority of the coins that they found, that's equally distributed throughout the whole area, they were all in Arabic during the Middle Ages until about the 17th, 18th century. After that, the Arabic coins disappeared. So these so-called, Ukrainians, Kazan people, whoever they are, they used Arabic. Yes. And in Kazan, they've just put these things there for show, these religious buildings here. Half the city or half the region is Muslim today, but it was almost entirely Muslim, 200-300 years ago, from what we can see in history without looking at the history books. If we look at the history books, they're going to claim, oh no, it was they had Greek and Latin there, and Slavic was written in like Greek letters. The Greek church went there, during the Middle Ages, but we can't seem to find that history at all. So the thing is, unfortunately, history is something else. Yeah, it's not something that we'd expect it to be. So the thing is, they've put it there to show that these modern religions are equal. But the moment we begin to accept this new world system of equality, yes, in religions, then that means we've got to accept this new world history. The moment you accept it, it's same like when anybody has a look to the Buddhist history books and the Buddhist scriptures that were allegedly written in Sanskrit, and then you can't find anybody who can read Sanskrit in India 150 years ago except the Europeans invaders. Yeah. Or whoever the European invaders were that was mysteriously from Europe. They claimed to be from Europe, but it was called the East India Company. And the history of that company is very suspicious. Yeah, it's very suspicious. We don't even know who that was, because around the same time, if we follow the official history, it looks like, they were set up from Western Europe. But if we have a look at the history that Anatoly Fomenko has provided, and then see all these blown up churches in France, Spain, Holland, the removal of the Knights Templar, the Cathars, the Muslims in Spain, and the so-called Jews, Jews who were probably the children of Israel or the Hebrews. Yeah, I wouldn't call them Jews. I'd call them Hebrews. Yeah, who were destroyed in Western Europe. Then Western Europe has a totally different history that does not make sense. We've got all these churches and in the middle of the countryside that are totally destroyed, and they say they were destroyed in the Middle Ages. But it looks like they were destroyed in the 17th or 18th century. So it looks like Europe was invaded in the same way that, these colonial armies that went to other sides of the world that mysteriously had Indian or African soldiers, which does not make sense. Yeah, and some people have mentioned this online and made videos about it, saying it is impossible that countries like Britain, France, Spain, and Holland, with their populations that are so busy, and half the people lived in the countryside, or more than half the people in the 19th century, that they could have these massive armies that went all around the world, and at the same time managed to have all these wars in Europe, like the Napoleonic Wars and everything. It's impossible. It doesn't make sense. But some people said that, but then they didn't look at the history from the other side of the world. Like if you're going to look at Beijing, and you'll see the British invaded Beijing and the British and the French Empire. Oh yeah, what people don't realize is that, they had Japanese soldiers, Chinese soldiers, and they had Indian soldiers, and they attacked Beijing, but Beijing was called Tartar City at the time.
Yes.
And but most people don't even know that it was called Tartar City. And another thing is Chinese people were not even allowed inside that city. And then any remnants of some photographs are around of that region, and it shows these Tatars there, and they're using Arabic writing, and they just look like Germanic Europeans. And there's some photographs. It's in my book somewhere. I found that very suspicious. Yeah. That the walls of Beijing were like something like 40 meters high or something, and Tiananmen has got all the waterways all around it, like we see in Holland, and the area inside Tartar City. Today it's called Beijing. Yeah, so the history is totally suspicious. And then if you look at the full city, looks like it was bombed and blown away. And they claim it was from the fightings with the European empires, but we're talking about Indian soldiers here. So the thing is, who were these British Empire and the French Empire? This is another question that nobody thinks about. And then when people are going to talk about the New World Order that these people are trying to set up, the first people who mentioned this so-called New Global Order was in the 19th century. What's that? Some man in the Middle East said it. What's his? I've forgotten his name. Babullah or Baha'u'llah, one of them two. And he just happened to set up the Baha'i religion, which is mysteriously based on the number 19, this, 19, that. And they don't hide it in their religion. And if you notice the Mayan pyramid facing 19 degrees east from north, based on a calendar of, 19 days in a month, the 19th month is the unlucky, blah, blah, blah. Then you realize, hey, these people are using the same mathematical code. And then this guy's in the Middle East. And this guy and his people, Mount Carmel is where the Baha'i temple is today. Yeah. And him and his people, whoever they were, he had 19 disciples. It just goes on. And if you read his book, the average person will do research, but people won't go as far as me. Maybe they don't have time. Yeah, but I actually read some of his religious books and sayings. Baha'u'llah or Babullah, one of them was the main guy. The other one was the first guy. But the second guy, they've got photographs of him. He's got photographs with people from Europe, the Middle East, everything. It's like a new global world order show. And he writes in his book, this new world order that's coming is going to be the best. This is...
At least someone's enthusiastic. Well, that's great, no? Positive attitude.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, he based everything on the number 19. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then he based it on 19. And the thing is, his followers that immediately came after him, their greatest enemy just happened to be Islam and the Islamic system. And then what he did was, but what he did was, and his immediate followers, they equated Krishna, Buddha, Christ, Moses, Muhammad, and all of them together and claimed that they were all prophets of God. And then he claimed some type of divine relationship with God, which people dispute. But the thing is, it is I read his book, and it sounds like a compilation, or the writing style. Some of it matches the Old Testament, and some of it matches the Quran. That it was clear that to me, it was clear that not one person wrote that book, that it was written by 2 or 3 minds who thought we will combine the writing style of the Quran and the Old Testament in the Bible. This is what I found myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the writing style. So that it was originally written in Arabic. I'm not sure if it was later in Persian or whatever. But the thing is, these people who are behind this new global system or order, who want to set it up, they're nowhere near, by the way. Yeah, who want to set it up. Yeah, are really against the system of Moses and the original system of Jesus Christ. And the so-called kingdom of Christ, Anatoly Fomenko says Christ lived around 1,000 years ago. So that last 1,000 years was what people would say is the kingdom of Christ, and it's gone. And Anatoly Fomenko says that Armageddon, was from the 16th century. And Armageddon has basically ended for us in Europe. Yeah, it probably ended by 1945, let's say, for Hungary, unless if they've got another war planned. Yeah. The thing is, the main Armageddon, where whoever these people behind the New World global system are, started around the time of the 16th century. Now, according to the timeline, if we remove the 1,000 years of Joseph Scaliger, then it means that that this Armageddon started, in the 6th or 7th century which would be the 16th or 17th.
Yes.
And that means it mysteriously started around the time of this man called the Prophet Muhammad. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. This is the thing. This is the thing that Armageddon started straight at that time. And the thing is, they haven't got their new global system yet, but let's see how it goes. Who knows? The people in power might change their minds. Bill Gates did say the other day, he did say it's too late to vaccinate 70% of the world's population.
I was really wondering what happened to his PR when I heard that. I was like, are you really?
Okay.
Or even but this may be interesting. Even I believe Stoltenberg or some like New World Order proponent recently said, or not Harari, but one of those bigwigs, and they literally said, because of this conflict now, whatever exactly there is happening, the New World Order has failed. They already said that.
Okay, okay. Now
maybe they're just playing that, but yeah.
Something. Yes. Now the thing is, unfortunately, because the average person is not going to take this Muslim Quran seriously. The Muslim Quran mentions that the people who are planning and plotting and scheming. Yes. And then it totally mentions a totally different history. And then it mentions the war between these two sides in history. It totally mentions a different history. That it basically mentions a war between the children of Israel and Judah. In other words, Judah and Israel are two separate entities, that they're not together. Yes, it mentions that. So now the thing is, I watched that clip about what's his name, Bill Gates. Yeah. Now the person who's doing the interview, the lady in that video, I forgot if it's the World Economic Forum or something like that day. She asked that question. It was deliberate. He pretended that he didn't hear it, and then he made sure that when he did answer, he was trying to show that his body movement had a bit more shaking, the full entire body movement. And he said it's too late to do 70%. Now, as you've noticed, the media is claiming that the majority in many countries have already been vaccinated.
Right.
But when he said the majority, 70% or more, which means the majority didn't get vaccinated. So why they had that thing is, one, to show the people who have already woken up, because now the Quran says something. It says the people who are making the planning and the plotting and the scheming. Mm-hmm. It says that they're planning and plotting and scheming. So the thing is, the Quran already knew, and the Quran is several centuries old, and the Quran says they're having problems and they will have problems. Yes. And it says God put these bad people in their position, and then God says God wants you to oppose them. And therefore, you are going to be victorious when you get to the next life, because this life is like a game. Yeah, it's like a game that you've got to achieve certain things.
I like it. It's the way I see it too.
Yeah, you've got to achieve certain things to become a better person.
Just liberate an entire civilization. Yeah, let's go.
So, liberate it. That's a bit difficult to do that much. But anyway, so the thing is, what they're trying to show is that they failed and that they've given up. So when he said it's too late, what people are not realizing is after September, when I was traveling, before we get to September the 11th, when I traveled around the world, I noticed about 6 years ago, in every airport in arrivals, they were already bringing in equipment to put there for COVID-19 testing. Uh-huh. Yes. Yeah. Don't forget, I'm going to strange places like Novosibirsk Airport, Kazan Airport, not only places like, Chicago Airport, or Toronto.
Not only the clean ones where they are quick with removing the evidence.
Yeah, I'm talking about airports that nobody are going to use. Yeah, I'm going through these airports that nobody are going to use, and they're already installing the equipment for this so-called coronavirus testing. I noticed it in Banda Aceh airports. They're bringing the installations, everything. So they're bringing them in. Banda Aceh is in Indonesia. It's like in So I noticed these things. So when I noticed that, what it means is that, no, they've changed plans. So what they're doing is, the thing is, the Ukraine war, they need to do that anyway. Urbanization is part of their long-term project, that they don't want anybody left in the countryside. that everybody has to be in smart cities. Their plan was within 50 years, but maybe it's going to take them another 100 years. They want every single human under control. And the Quran says it's because Satan made a challenge with God, saying that every single soul he's going to try to get. So that's why they want everybody in an urbanized area where they could control the education. And the Ukraine wife, if you've been to Ukraine, like I have, I get around, yeah, you will notice that there's many people who are living in, very bad conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Hungary, you will say there's many people living in wooden homes, things like that. Yes. In Ukraine, you'll see a lot of that. And now the thing is, if they're going to open the doors to say, hey, you could come to Europe now,
Right.
you can imagine how many people are going to come running saying, yes, the Russians, the Ruski, they did this to my family. They attacked me. Oh, they hit my leg.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, there is many bad things going on. Yeah. But the thing is, I'm saying,
There is incentive, yes.
And I've noticed something that people in Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia, many of them want to go west or south because they've had enough of the cold weather. A lot of them say it's depressing. That's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes. So the thing is, one is urbanization. So they were going to do that anyway, regardless of this COVID thing or not. And the thing is, they haven't given up because they've made sure now they're increasing and making it stricter regulation to make it harder to travel. Almost all the young people now saying, hey, to go to colleges, schools, this, that. So they're targeting the next generation. So maybe they've given up on a generation that's already above the age of 25 or 30, saying, forget it. We thought we could do it faster. We'll have to do it the hard way. It's going to take us 30 years. You understand? So
yes.
That's all that's happened. It doesn't mean they've given up. You want to travel here, there, warm country, this, that. Yeah, you're going to have these vaccinations and things like that. So they're going to do it the long way, the slow way. And as you've noticed, you have a look at Sweden and the microchip. Yeah, microchips have advantages. So they're going to do it the slow way, but they're bringing it in. But another thing, maybe they did plan it to be slow. Maybe they planned it to be slow so that eventually people will think, hey, we're going to take microchips, this, that. And before people, there would have been a lot more resistance without this coronavirus thing. But now it's made things a bit more easier. So maybe they already planned it to be slow like this anyway.
I can see how this is a plan, but I also see many, many individuals heavily disgruntled and waking up because of all the chicanery of the past years. So I'm not sure how much on track they are in terms of what their ideal scenario would be. I see them pretty much off. If I were them, I wouldn't be so happy.
Where the border is going in Europe and America, I want you to think back to just before your grandparents. People didn't need a passport. You could just go from anywhere in Europe, one place to another. Right. World War I and II were artificially designed to create these fake borders so that you stuck within the borders.
Nation states,
until you accepted two different things, a birth certificate and an identification card or passport. They achieved their main objective.
Even as a child, I always felt it's very strange. Why do I need this paper? Like, what is this and why is this so normal? I could already feel it's something strange, but this is just a continuation of that process.
So now they've done it now. For international safety, they've done their two major wars, World War I and II. This time they've done September 11th and coronavirus. Yeah. The two major wars against the people, so that now they'll say for security and everything, you're going to have microchips. And microchips do have advantages. Your train ticket's inside, your money's inside, your keys are inside. Everything, it does have an advantage. But now the disadvantage is, it's when they will use it against you. Or otherwise, I don't see anything wrong with it as long as it doesn't get abused. I mean, if you want the microchip, you take it. But if it's going to be forced on people eventually. ID 2020, ID 2030 was planned many, many years ago.
Yes.
Many years ago. So the thing is, it took them 50 years or even more for people to have birth certificates. Even right now, we've got countries like Nepal, India, Morocco, places in many places where people still don't have birth certificates. Yeah.
Wow.
Not accurate ones.
Yeah.
Or proper identification. So we've got problems, so maybe in the Western world they've achieved that, but they've got a long way to go. They're nowhere near a new global order. Yes.
That's
Nowhere
nice to
near.
hear. So, I'd like to think in this game that we are playing, if we agree on that level, I'd like to be setting up the challenge. Maybe, as you said, liberation is a strong word. Let's start with inspiration. But certainly, I know
So
I would.
liberation is a good word. No, I laughed because I thought, damn, you're planning to be the next Moses or the next
No, no,
Jesus
no, no,
Christ,
no. We're all
leading
doing
everybody
this. No, no, no.
out of
All of us
Egypt,
together.
out of
All
Europe
of
into the Holy Land.
No, no, no.
Huh?
All of us together, just by asking these questions and having individuals like you that actually have been around and can share many stories to start us to get
No,
thinking,
you've got great ideals. You've got great ideals. Yeah, they are great ideals because the thing is, they're lying. Yeah, and whatever their reasons are, yeah, it would be shocking. What would be one of the biggest shock is, yeah, what if they were telling lies and it was all for our good?
Yeah, exactly. This is the
Which
this is the newest
I'm sure
theory I
you're
heard
not going
too.
to believe.
Yes, this is the newest
Yeah,
theory I heard too. Like what happened, what
yeah,
was so
yeah,
crazy that they said, okay, whatever, we have to change everything around so that this never happens again. Maybe it's born out of some kind of other trauma. We don't know yet, but that's why I know I don't like being lied to. And I just know that,
yeah,
what else to do on this earth in this incarnation than come as
yeah,
close to the truth, whatever this is,
yeah.
as possible. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the point. Yeah. So yeah, there is the case they could be lying to us for our own good in many cases, but there's that many lies. It's just become a joke. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like many of the things that I don't see no reason for them to make these lies. Uh, I don't
It's a
see
bit
no
much.
reason for it. Yeah, it's a bit too much. It's just ridiculous. But it's just ridiculous. But who knows why it's happening, everything. But life is an adventure. It's fun. And I hope it's fun and an adventure for everybody. Sorry for the people who've got pain out there or whatever they're suffering. Many people are going through a hard time. You
Indeed.
know,
But
yeah.
thank you very much
Anyway,
for
Raphael,
freely
any
sharing.
more questions before we leave it?
I'll thank you for now. I'll make sure that if anything comes to my mind, we discussed quite a lot. I'll jot it down for next time. I'd like to thank you very much. I know many people have been listening and very much appreciated you sharing like this. And I even saw some
Yeah.
presentations on other shows and they were specifically mentioning you actually. So just to let you know, some people are taking notice. The right people, I want to say, are taking notice and asking questions. And
Yeah.
I just wish that, together we can, find out how amazing this place really is and reclaim our true
Yeah.
heritage, know
Yeah,
who we
I'm
are.
not going to be boastful and I'm not going to boast and lie saying, hey, I know everything. Everything I've said is correct. Yeah, I, I've I've made many mistakes. I know about that. I don't know everything yet. I'm also searching, so I'm not going to be arrogant. So it's good that everybody is talking and I hope that we can
Yes,
all move ahead. That,
perfect.
that, that is something that I hope that happens. Anyway, Raphael, I'll leave it with you and hopefully we'll talk another day. And I've sent you one book you've not received before. Yeah,
Perfect.
take a look through that. Yeah.
Thank you very,
Okay.
very much.
Good. Okay, yeah, bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.